Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the greatest show on earth, the Millionaire Mindsets Podcast. I am your gracious host, Xavier Miller, and today this is about to be a classic episode. It's going to be so much game and value and good information you guys could take and apply to y'all real life in this episode, so y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. But before we get started, I would like to advise all the listeners, watchers, so please hit that like button, subscribe, 5-star rate, 5-star review, do all those things. We're trying to run those numbers up, so if y'all could do that, I would greatly appreciate it. And getting right into the episode, because y'all know I'm not really a fan of the small talk. I like to get right to it. I got a very special guest, a phenomenal woman that's doing big things, helping a lot of people all over the country, all over the world. So we got her on the show, and her name is Stormy Banks. She's the founder of the Pink Print Firm and also a grant writer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course, I'm excited to have you on. So let's get right to it. So grant writer, right? So just give like a brief background, let the listeners and watchers know like how did you get to this point?
Yeah, grant writing really stumbled in my lap, right? So 2020, right? COVID hit. I lost my company. I had a mobile hair salon that was like banging in New York, and we shut down for like 8 months. So about 2 months in, I was like, okay, I got to make something shake. I got bills, yada, yada going on. So I went down to Tennessee and started doing some hair because that's where one of my homegirls lived. My mother was out there. I was like, perfect. I'll go down to Tennessee, do the whole thing. Long story short, I ended up, raising up some capital through saving up my tips and everything. And then my homegirl robbed me, right? She robbed me of $50,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So once that happened, I was at the point where I was like, okay, I don't have no good credit. I'm at the point I don't have good credit. I didn't have any extra capital. I had 2 businesses that I had started, but I didn't have no money coming in. So I was like, what can I do that doesn't need credit, that doesn't need capital, that doesn't need me to have this long history in order to get some money to get started? Because I knew business. I knew how to do business, but I just didn't have the money at the time. So then I fell upon grants and I was like, let's do some applications.
Mm-hmm. And when okay, so break this down. So, because I know a lot of people, they're going to hear like grants and they know what a grant is, but a grant writer, on the most simplest terms, what is a grant writer?
A grant writer is somebody who has the skill sets and the strategy to actually create a creative document or proposal to pitch you to different grant opportunities. That's what a grant writer does.
That's simple.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and why, for the listeners and watchers, right, they're hearing this, they about to get put on to a lot of stuff. Why is this even important for people?
It's important because, once again, it's funding that you don't have to have credit for. It's funding that you never have to pay back. It's funding that doesn't take away from your profits in your business, that you can obtain literally by having a business or a nonprofit. And so people just don't understand that they can get this stuff.
So, and when you started, did you do a grant for yourself at first, or were you like helping others?
Yeah, that first it was me. I was like, let me see if the magic is there. Let me see if the magic is there. Okay. So the first grant I won, after 10 applications, I won my first grant, was $50,000. So it took me, I was at that point, I was averaging like, 10% that I was winning. But 50,000, I'll put in another 10 applications for 50,000. You know what I'm saying? I'll put in 20 for 50,000 that I never have to pay back. Absolute. So for me, that's how it started. Once I started winning, I won a couple more, and then I found a formula. I literally was like, okay, this is actually what works. This type of writing, this type of format, this type of pitching, these type of grants, this is what works. And then I was like, let's test this on some other people and see if this formula is shaking. And once I tested it, I was like, oh, this is money.
Yo, that's so crazy, because from my understanding, I hear that like there's grants for like everything. I heard somebody mention like there's a grant for like people with red hair. I remember hearing this a while back, like they got a red hair like grant or something like that. So I want to ask you, like, so that first one, what was your grant for?
It was for women in business, so minority-owned businesses. Yep, that's the one that I went for.
And you said you did 10, you applied for 10 before you got your first one.
Yep.
Is that like the normal process? It takes a lot of applications for you to get one?
I think if you're doing it on your own with no experience, absolute. I was non-experienced. I had never gone for a grant before, so my averages was trash. But now, we're averaging 90% success rates when it comes to grants, because like I said, we've applied for so many grants. We know the formulas, and now we have some relationships that we utilize to really get some back-end detail on like, what are they really looking for on these applications? Who are the past winners? We have some methods that we know kind of not guarantee it, but get us real close.
So if you do mind like sharing some of this, like what are some of the things that they're looking for?
Yeah, honestly, so there's so much competition when it comes to grants. There's we just hosted a grant and there was 3,000 people who applied to the grant, right? So out of those 3,000, we probably see a mix of maybe 50 different variations of industries. So we're getting a lot of repetitive industries. So now what we're thinking to ourselves is how do we choose which ones are really going to do the work, actually fulfill on what we want to use the grant money for, who actually is a credible business, who's running a business, has some proof of concept and can showcase that they know how to use the budget and they have a budget. And then also, are you doing anything different in your industry that can revolutionize your industry and propel you to become a long-term business? Because as a person who gives grants myself, I want to be a part of stuff that's going to change the world.
Facts.
That's what they be looking for.
I feel that. So let me ask you this, because this some heavy stuff. So is there a limit to, let's say you win a grant, right? Is there a limit to like how many grants that you can apply and like actually win?
So honestly, it's unlimited funding that you can get. So there's no cap. Like if you win $1 million grant, you can't win another grant all year. No, if you win, you can win as many as you apply to. Now, some grants do have some stipulations where they're like, we want to know how much funding you've already got, and we're going to prioritize people who have gotten $100,000 or less, but that's more rare than it is common. So it really can become unlimited. I had a client just do 6 figures in grants and didn't make a dime in her business yet. Yes, that's what I be trying to tell people. And people don't understand that grants goes on your taxes as gross revenue. So now she's going to have the opportunity to get other types of funding. See, this is the thing that people don't understand.
Hey, look, everybody watching, right? I told y'all this gonna be some shit for real. I've never heard of that.
That's why I tell people grants isn't just something you get, I need some money to start no, grants is a revenue stream in our company. Like we literally have a team that applies specifically for us to keep the money coming in. It takes care of all of our operational costs. So everything that we make in our business is our money, our profit to invest and do things to grow our company. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
So how long, like, right? So you apply for a grant, right? Like how long does this process take from application process to you like finding out you winning, to you getting the funds? Like how long is that process on average?
It varies. So it could be honestly like the lowest I've seen is 30 days, which is like a quick corporate grant, right? Yeah. Those are like corporate grants. They're pretty easy, simple, but it can also be like 18 months, right? I'm doing an application for a client right now and it's a federal grant going for $1 million. That one is an 18-month process. They're not even going to tell her she won until April 2025.
They're not gonna tell she wins in 2020. That's wild.
I mean, it's $1 million.
I mean,
can you wait a year?
Free money, I can wait.
Hello.
And I know you, and this is really big. I know you secured $17 million in grant funding.
Yes.
And so, is that in a 4-year period?
That was last year's numbers.
Whoa. I'm thinking this since you started. So you did $17 million in a year.
Last year.
Was this for yourself or for like clients?
Clients.
Oh, for clients.
That's
okay.
clients.
So how I'm trying to think of the way to ask this. Like how, because how was you able to do that simply?
We have a team now.
Okay.
It's not just me, right? So like I said, I have a legit formula of exactly how we do it every single time. And so we use that, and I use that to train my team. I have a team of grant writers, grant specialists, grant application specialists. Like we literally do this all day. It's a well-oiled machine. Like we're trying to get as many minority-owned businesses funded. So yeah, it's a machine now. And
I seen you make a video on your gram. You talked about how the 3 grants for real estate entrepreneurs.
Because I be trying to tell people that they have grants for real estate and they really do not be believing me. They have grants for everything. I'm talking about, so for me personally, I invest in real estate too.
Right.
And a lot of the grants that I get are mostly like facade, like fix up the facade of the property, whether it's commercial or whether it's residential. They have grants where you can actually do like demolition. They have grants where you can fix roof, grants for new plumbing, grants for solar systems. Like there's a lot of grants when it comes to real estate. So I always find my grants for real estate on grants.gov and grantwatch.com. Like those are the best sites to use for real estate grants specifically, or your local state, like the motor own programs, the beautification grants, the HUD grants. I can go on and on.
Is it a certain, and I'm asking a lot of questions. I'm asking fast, but my mind, I'm racing. Is it like say you open a business, you open your LLC, right? Is it like a certain time you have to have an open LLC before you start applying for grants?
Some grants will want you to be open. They'll be like, we want you to be open since, January of 2020. 2022 or whatever. Some do have that, but again, they have options where that's not the case. So there's grants open right now. They have a $10,000 grant on helloskip.com for early stage entrepreneurs specifically. No time limit on when you had the grant, no revenue needed. There's one question on that grant and you can apply.
Just one question.
One. And the question is like, who are you and what's your business or something like that.
With that being said, because I'm pretty sure storytelling has to be like a crucial part of this process.
Absolutely. It's all about storytelling because people think that a grant proposal and a business plan are the same thing.
What's the difference?
A business plan is just the numbers. It's giving you the data. It's giving you the growth plan. It's giving you the strategy of how you're thinking of growing in the next 3 to 5 years. A grant proposal is literally a storytelling document with also data, with also proven facts, with also the numbers and broken down budgets. But it is like, tell us about your background. Tell us about what the business does. How's it going to serve other people? What's the project? What's the mission? What's the vision? But in a narrative.
And that's something I think, because storytelling in business, period. You look at huge companies, Nike, all these companies, they pretty much is the art of storytelling on a high level. So like, what would you say, how does somebody even become a good storyteller and really like to understand, to make sure what you're saying not going over their head?
I think, honestly, have you ever heard I'm from New York and we always say fake it till you make it type of thing. And I really think that plays a crucial point because some people look at their business for what it is right now. And that's all they can see it as. You have to start dreaming a little bit of where you want to go and what you see it as. Like, what is the real vision? Vision is going to allow you to tell the story. Because if you can't see it, it's hard to articulate it. And then it's harder to put it into words and make it a story, a full-on story. So you have to look at what is the vision for this company? Who do I really want to serve? Where do we really want to go? What's really going to be our impact long-term? And then you'll break that down from there.
I like that nugget because I talked about this sometimes too, the fake it till you make it. Because I think sometimes people just interpret that as like, I'm going to act like I'm rich. They can go to the Chanel store and make videos like I'm rich, where sometimes it just could be faking the attitude, enthusiasm and effort and all that stuff. You could just fake that until you don't have to fake it. Until it's natural. So it's natural, right?
Absolutely.
What would you say is like some of the reasons that, because I'm pretty sure people they're going to see this episode. They're going to get on their laptops ASAP, hit you up ASAP, try to figure this out. What would you say is some of the main reasons that people actually don't win grants?
The biggest thing that I find, for somebody that sits on boards of different grant opportunities, the budget. If the budget is not put together well.
Break that down. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so every grant, for instance, the grant will be like a $10,000 grant or a $50,000 grant or $1 million grant. If all you're doing is okay, I need $5,000 for some marketing, I need $2,000 to hire somebody, and it's just these generalized numbers, and it doesn't look like there's any real research on the back end of that, that's already losing credibility and trust for a grantor, right? They're already you don't even know what you're going to do with this money for real. Because you're going to go against somebody like me, right? Where when I go apply, I'm I need $2,152.67 because I'm going to hire a virtual assistant who's going to work for me from 9 to 5, and she's going to do these exact tasks, and we're going to pay her this hourly wage. I'm going to break it all the way down because I don't only want you to understand what am I using the money for, but I want you to understand the impact of where that money is going to go to help us do the mission and help the people we want to serve. So the budget is one of the main reasons why people don't get approved.
I like that you keep mentioning the mission and serving people, because I think sometimes we can be in a culture where people will hear stuff and they always trying to run a play and hit a lick, right?
Right.
And they were like, dang, I could run up a grant, run up 100, 200K, just free money. I could start taking trips and buying jewelry. It's no, you really got to have a mission and be goal oriented when you're doing this.
No, for sure. That's what the proposal brings for you, right? So that's why I tell people to get a grant proposal before they start applying, because it positions you to have a plan. And a lot of times if you don't do right with the grant money, they can retract the money.
Really?
Yeah. Absolute.
So how would that what would make them retract the money? How would they know that you're not doing right by the money?
It's more so going to be when we get to the bigger levels of grants, like state grants, federal grants. What they do is they'll put an account manager on your grant. Okay. So they'll ask you hey, we need you to get an accounting software like ADP or QuickBooks to be able to showcase where the money is going. And then we're going to use this and cross-represent with the budget that you submitted and make sure that we're staying in the guidelines of what you said you're going to use the money for. And if we see like, over 10 or 20% is going to things outside of what you said, then we're going to need that money back.
That makes sense. If you don't mind sharing this, what's the biggest grant you won, biggest grant you won for a client?
Yeah. So the biggest grant that we won for a client was $500,000. And the biggest grant that I've personally won was $60,000. So I haven't won that many for me. I think, honestly, when it comes to what we do focus on getting other people funded more than anything. That's where a lot of our efforts goes to. Because imagine if we had people who could get funding debt-free, no credit, and they weren't totally focused on like loans and credit card stacking and business credit. How much further will we really be in our community if we didn't have as much debt?
No, seriously. And that $500K grant, that's
that was a child care center in Houston, actually.
Really?
Yeah, she killed it.
No, that's a huge grant. What are some other like roadblocks as far as like just not having a budget properly or maybe the right like corporate setup? What are some other roadblocks that people may face when they start to go down this path?
I think people struggle with where to find the grants, right? People think that the grant has to be specific to you. Like it has to say, hey, this is a grant for a Millionaire Mindset podcast. Come and apply. It's $10,000. It's not going to say that. It's going to say like, hey, this is a grant for a media project.
Right.
And so you have to be able to read and make yourself fit into what they're asking for versus saying, oh, that's not for me. That's not for me. So part of the problem is just simply that when you're reading the grant, read the actual full entirety of the grant. If you fit the eligibility requirements, you can go for that grant. And I think that's what they're more so looking for grants industry specific and state specific more than, okay, how do I, finagle this to make it make sense?
Mm-hmm. And this is an industry that's always like been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. So even though this may be some people first time hearing of this or being exposed to this is not some new stuff. Because I know some of this stuff can be hard for people to actually believe. Like, wait, hold on, I get funded for my business and that I don't have to pay back. That's crazy.
I think it's hard to believe because I don't think people think their business is worthy. I think people literally, they sit in the seller's mindset, right? When you're at a market, all the sellers are, hey, come on, buy this, I got this meat. Instead of when you're walking down the aisle and you're like, I'm the buyer, I get what I want. Right? I get what I want. Whatever make the most sense, I'm getting it. If you're not in your buyer's mindset, you're just taking whatever's out there. Like you're desperate. That desperation causes you to make bad decisions. So you're over here just like, okay, let me see if I can just get a credit card. Let me just see if I can get a loan. You're not even looking at the opportunities where it's like somebody really will believe in you and give you the money, the same money that you could have got from the bank for free to fund your business because it's worthy for you to do this mission. They understand that there's people that are literally struggling because you're not doing what you're called to do.
No, that's heavy. That's definitely heavy. I want to ask you this. How are you like staying up to date on grant opportunities and stuff? Because I know is the industry changing like
every day. Okay. Every day. Yep. Every day, new grants are coming out, new grants are ending. And honestly, again, that comes with having a whole team now. We have a whole research department where we have a internal database to find grants, and it's all like segmented by month, by industry, by qualifications, by for-profit, nonprofit. So having a team has really helped me. Before I had a team, when I tell you I was in those congressional meetings watching, what they're doing with different state legislation, different federal legislation, going in person. Every state has like a budget meeting where they break down what they're doing with the budget for the city, for the state. So I'll be in those meetings, seeing where the money is flowing, because where the money goes is what businesses people should really be starting, to see how they can get the money. Because if your city's like, hey, we need more infrastructure, you better start you a construction business and be like putting in your grant for building out some, bridges and stuff. What are you doing? We don't need another beauty salon. We need a construction company. So
no,
that's
real.
How we be doing it.
That's real, because I talk about this all the time, how a lot of times, like, it's hard to explain, but it's like a lot of times we don't see like a lot of creativity, because people will see like my boy KJ, he got a media company, he killing it. People would see that and be like, you know what? I want a media company too, instead of going into an industry where like people was like really need it for real.
Yeah.
So I definitely wholeheartedly understand what you're saying, because there's a lot of money out here in industries that people have no clue that they can get into.
Absolute. Like tech, It's going crazy right now, of course. They love medical is always good, especially on the state levels. You have to think if small business is what keeps the economy going,
right.
You're going to need businesses that are everlasting, evergreen in the economy. So if you start a tech company, a construction company, transportation company, you start a medical company, education, all those things are evergreen. Those have been around since the start of America, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to always be getting funded from those opportunities.
And being able to make pivots and stuff. Like, that's what I like about your story is that you said you had a mobile hair salon and COVID hit, you made a pivot to this.
Absolutely.
Is that even like let's talk about the mindset you got to have to even do that. Like, was that when you stopped your mobile hair salon, was that like a devastation, like mentally for you?
Absolutely. I had literally dedicated my life to being a hairstylist. Like I thought that was going to be the route, right? I had got a bunch of tattoos because I was like, I'm an artist. I could be artsy. I'm in an artsy field. Now I'm like, okay, I'm a grant writer. Hold on. So it definitely, I had dedicated everything to that. But I think that the mindset that really came from that is just, I'm going to say it like this. I mourned a lot for the person that I thought I was.
You said you what?
Mourned.
Oh, you mourned a lot. Okay.
I mourned a lot for the person that I thought that I was.
What you mean by that?
I mean, I'm talking about it was so hard to let it go. It was so hard to see myself in another position, to see myself as another person, that it took me months to really transition before I became who I am right now.
Damn.
Because I was like, I'm a hairstylist. I kept saying that's what I am. But now I look at myself more as an infinity, an eternal type of a thing. So so now I'm like, okay, I'm nothing that this life has to offer. I'm everything that this life has to offer. And that has changed my whole thought process of the things that I can accomplish.
Yo, that's so important because let me ask you this. How do you think people can adopt that mentality? Because there's so many people right now across the globe that's like maybe struggling whatever niche they're in. They thought this was their thing, but they refuse to let it go because yo, this is all I know. This is all I can do. So how can you break down how to adopt that mentality? Because that's not easy to do.
Yeah, no, for real. I mean, there's those steps to grieving. You got to go through those steps to grieving first because you have to really let go your identity, and you can't bring something new in without letting something else go, right? So for me, I could say the actual steps that I feel like I really, really took is I gave myself time to actually process what I wanted to do. So I started structuring, okay, what's the vision for where I could go? What are the things I like? I took a lot of time just doing stuff that I enjoyed. And that enjoyment brought along creativity to figure out, okay, well, how can I do the things I love and still, make money from it to survive? And then I fasted. I fasted for a very long time. I fasted for almost 40 days because I really was like, I got to get clear.
What kind of fast? Food,
no, only water.
You did only water. 40-day water fast?
Only water.
Yo, you hella strong mentally to do that.
You know what it is? You have to really depend on your source.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you got to be connected to, you got to get very connected. Because if you get disconnected, if a branch gets disconnected from a tree, it withers. It provides no fruit. It will bear no fruit because it's not connected to the tree. So you got to stay connected to the tree in all aspects. So for me, fasting allows me to get reconnected, get clean, get clear, and really tap in and get those downloads for what I'm supposed to be doing.
And during that fasting process, is that when you discovered this grant?
Absolute.
Wow.
Absolute. I was so clean. Clarity was on point. I would never do it again. I would do it fast, but not 40 days.
40 days is a long time.
Maybe I give you 3. I got 3 for you. But, it gets you so clear. And then from there, you have to change who you're in proximity with. You have to change who you're in proximity with because words have meaning. People's energies really actually does transfer. And if you're constantly around, just not even if it's negative, right? But if it's just desolate, if it's just dry. Have you ever seen a swamp?
Mm-hmm.
A swamp is still water.
Yep.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
There's no movement. It doesn't drain into any bigger body.
Yeah.
It's
dirty.
Just right.
Muddy.
But it's still water.
It's still water, though.
So you could think you're in an environment that's oh, this is still water. We good. But you don't even know that there's an ocean with lakes and rivers that flow that actually provide life to other ecosystems. And you just in this environment that's not providing you any growth.
Yo, that's so deep because I'm a firm believer that elevation is going to require separation at some point and to some degree,
Mm-hmm.
and to hit new levels. And like we talk about fasting for 40 days, just water. That's it's going to be something revealed to you. And it reminds me not to get like too like spiritual or biblical, but even in the Bible, Moses separated himself and went up in the mountains for 40 days, 40 nights. And that's when he was revealed the 10 Commandments. You know what I'm saying? That he probably would have never got if he didn't separate himself and go through a time period where he alone, and who knows what he was going through up there. So for fasting, it's just, that's wild,
Yeah. And I would say I really did it because I was getting heavy into my Bible, and I was like, Jesus did it, Moses did it.
Yeah.
I'm like, there must be something to this 40 days. And I was like, you know what? Let's rock out.
That's tough. Like everybody listen, they know how hard you try to fast for 3 days, you go through it.
Once you get into the motion.
So when you was doing it, was you still like actively working, or did you stop everything for 40 days?
No, I was, because I had just got robbed, previously to that. So I could say a lot of it was because of depression too, right? I'm not just going to sit here and be like, I was just so strong-willed. No, I was actually depressed. I really couldn't eat. I didn't want to really do much, right? So when I was sitting there, it was kind of like, okay, I need something to happen. This just can't be what I'm going to, become in my life. Like I was just feeling guilt, ashamed, everything. So I honestly was like at the point where I didn't have nothing else but God. Like that was really all I had left. So that's kind of where I was at for real, right?
And this, man, we lean to a whole nother conversation. But it's just like, I got to ask, with all this being said, just for the people that's watching, like how close, not close, but how important is that source and that relationship with you, for God, in your business, to keep you like disciplined, motivated, grounded? Like how important is that? Because in business, especially when you are in certain environments, being young, I think most people don't understand how much is around us, how much temptation we got to go through every day, all the things we seeing, people we dealing with, different energies that we consume. Like, so how important is that for you?
Yeah, it's very important. It's the driving force for me. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm just holy ghost. Right. I'm wearing white, but I ain't, I ain't gonna act like I'm just, But I do make decisions based on what my ultimate goal is, because I feel like for sure I'm here and I'm in my purpose right now, and I just don't want to miss my mark. I want to make sure that I'm connecting with the right people, doing the right things, making the right decisions, because like we were talking about a little bit earlier, every decision you make either propels or takes away. Like it's either going to give to your future self or it's going to take from your future self. And I'm not spending all this time just to keep taking. So yeah, I want to give a lot.
When I was coming up, it used to be older people used to tell me all the time, like, whatever you're doing is either going to help you build or destroy you.
Absolutely.
Like every decision is going to either build or destroy.
100%.
And sometimes it could just be that black and white. But I want to get back to the grant writing for a second. So I want to ask, what are like common misconceptions that people have when it comes to like applying for grants or getting grants?
Yeah, I think that they think they have to be in business for a really long time. Okay. I think they have to have a lot of revenue. I think they have to be a nonprofit. I think they believe that it has to be industry specific. People say it's a lottery. It's not a lottery when you know what you're doing, right? The lottery, you're scratching off numbers and guessing. We're not guessing. We're going through and researching and actually figuring out what do they want from me and how do I become what I like to call the obvious choice. So a lot of times, I tell my team, I'm like, make them the obvious choice.
I like that.
The thing that people get misconstrued on is, when you see there's an opportunity for somebody to give you money, what's the first thing you're gonna do? Is like, hey, let me get that $5. Yeah, give me that money. Instead of being like, what will make you give somebody that $5? Like, what do you want with that $5? On grant applications, we hardly talk about ourselves. We talk about the business. We talk about the grantor, right? The person who's giving the money. We literally talk about the grantor. So we're like, okay, let's, for instance, if a question is like, how would you propel the community with this grant application or with this grant money? We would be like something like, based on the funder and whoever it is, we'd be like, so it looks like you want to understand how we're going to propel our community. Here's a couple of things that we've already done, but what's mostly important is that it looks like these are the things that you're focusing on. So this intertwines with what we do because boom, boom, boom. So we're talking about how we're going to serve their purpose more than we're going to serve our own purpose. That right there, a lot of people don't do. I'm giving y'all this the
money.
Cheese, this the crackers, and this the grape juice.
Because I think a lot of people do when I could see how a lot of people immediately start thinking like me.
Absolutely.
What I'm gonna do, what this gonna do for me, what this gonna do for my business and my family, without thinking how would this serve like a bigger purpose and the people that's funding me the money.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because like it's making me think like for people probably to make it relatable to them. Like if you was driving and you seen a homeless dude and he got a sign, he like, give me $5 for some weed. And then you see another homeless dude, he like, give me $5, I got a family. And they right there, family of 3. You more than likely gonna give it to the dude with the family. Like, I ain't just gonna give you no money so you can smoke some weed. Like, what kind of shit? You know what I'm saying? So I could, like, that makes sense when you put it like that. So, like, what, like, because this, like I said, this is such a strong and dope conversation. But like, why, when it comes to grants, right? Like, let's say if somebody is they killing it in their industry, like they running it up. Can they still receive like funding? Because I know people think like, man, I may be killing in my business. I might not necessarily need funding, or they might not give it to me because they can see that I'm killing in my business. So I'm not even gonna try to apply for something like this. Is that a false misconception?
Absolutely. So I can say like, we would get to a threshold when we're like, you're doing 100 million, you have like 500 employees.
That's the threshold?
That's when we get into a threshold.
Okay.
Other than that, I can find a grant for you.
Really?
Absolutely. 100%.
How would you like, because I feel like some people, right, they're going to see this, and they're going to start applying, but they might experience rejection. Like you said, they might 10 times get rejected. How did you handle that rejection when you first started this? Because we know some people just stop like, man, it's not for me. This ain't even real. Everybody keep telling me, no, this is not even real. So how did you handle that rejection part?
Rejection is a part of the process. And honestly, I think for me, I eat rejection up. I love it because it's an easy way to help me fail quick so I could actually get to my success faster. I'm like, okay, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Every single time I fail on an application or I get rejected, I send feedback. I ask for feedback. Hey, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate this. This is going to help whoever is the winner. Congratulations to them. Would you mind offering any individual feedback? Sometimes they say no, right? Okay, cool. But sometimes they also be like, hey, yeah, actually your application, yada, yada, yada. Cool. I'm tweaking. That's how I found my personal formula that I use on everybody because I was comfortable getting rejected. I didn't have nothing else to lose. You get rejected, you in the same position you already was in.
Facts.
It's not like you gave anything up to do that. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, I'm like, yes, hurry up, reject. Let me put in 20 applications, get rejected. Okay, no problem. Learn what's working, learn what's not working, send another application, boom, hit, 100K, we up. For me.
That's important. How do you make sure like that your application and your story is like unique enough and like specifically tailored to the grantor's like aspirations and goals, and like how do you make sure that like those things are aligned?
Yeah, so on grants.gov, it's really unique because their grant applications that they have on there, most of them have like a file where there's past grant applications, like quote unquote sample applications. They're showing you that to show you like format, to show you how they want it to come. I read those. And I'm reading them and I'm seeing, okay, what's other people saying? What's the language that they're using? That way I can craft a compelling story that also hasn't been heard before because I kind of already know what other people are thinking and where their mind is at. It's a lot of strategy that goes into it. And that's why people get rejected a lot and they think it's a lottery because you're not taking that time. I'm spending literally hours on hours on hours. I have, not only me, I have a team that's spending hours on hours on hours being the best out here. You don't do 17 million from being whack.
No, you don't.
So that takes a lot of time. You know what I'm saying? So people are like, oh, Stormy, this is so difficult and it's hard for us. But I'm like, you're not putting enough time. You're not shooting enough shots. You're not ready for game day.
That's as simple as that. You got to put up those shots, put up that practice and really put it. I think because, a lot of us, we want something quick. Like we hear something, we hear these stories. Oh, snap, Stormy killing it. I'm about to start me a grant writing service.
Absolutely. And
by September, they like,
on to
I ain't nowhere near close to that 17 million. How she do that?
Right. Well, let me try credit then.
Right. No. Seriously, like this is something that's you because like you've been in the industry 4 years. Mm-hmm. What's some of the biggest lessons you've learned? Like, if you had 3 lessons you learned over this 4-year period when it comes to grant writing, what would it be?
When it comes to grant writing specifically, biggest
or just the
lesson,
industry period.
I would say honestly, collaborate with people is probably one of my biggest lessons I've learned. I've learned a lot from other grant writers, from other, industry specialists. I've learned so much from them, just like their process, how they manage, how they go through everything, how they handle their clients. And then also people outside of my industry as well. I think adaptability is really really necessary because the market is always changing. The needs are always changing and you can't get stuck with one formula. The formula that I had when I first started has adapted so much to what I have now. Absolutely. I was doing 10% back then. I'm doing 90 now. So it's just adapted. So I think collaborating with people and being comfortable understanding you don't know that much. Even if you've done more grants as them, even if you have more clients, even if you more popping, they might got one little nugget. And I'm telling you, one nugget will change your life. So I be really focusing on finding that one nugget.
No, that's so heavy because I think like somebody that's extremely wealthy that's worth like 9 figures. He told me something years ago and it always stuck with me. He was like, every day I wake up with the mindset that mentally I'm a child, meaning like I don't know nothing. So I need to figure out like learn more things that I don't know. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you would think somebody worth that much will have the mentality that like they know it all. Like, you can't tell them they know everything, but he's like, nah, I'm still mentally a baby. It's so much stuff that I don't know. He was like, I know. He told me, I know that I know shit. Verbatim, that's what he said. He said, I know that I don't know shit. I'm like, what? That sounds crazy to me. Like, you would think this dude know everything, but he said, I don't know nothing. I think that mindset is what helps you constantly grow. Because the minute you feel like, man, I already know everything.
Absolutely.
You about to be on the downside.
Absolutely.
Guaranteed.
Absolutely. Right. And that's definitely the moment that you start fading. And if you want to stay on top, you got to be the top performer. And that takes everything that you have to do, the practice, the work, the research, the shots, the action. You got to keep performing.
Is it and this, because I don't know a whole lot about this industry, do you have like a lot of competitors in this industry?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot of grant writers and it's something that we're working on right now to really push the needle. I'm not gonna put it out there yet, but when I tell you, boy, we about to push the needle in this industry. It's gonna be crazy. But it's definitely a lot of competition. But I think for us, we don't really focus on the competition. We focus on the clients, and I think that's what makes it so different. We're not trying to really like grow this multi-million-dollar grant agency. We're trying to get people funded. Like that's actually our goal. So if we can stay connected to our mission and our goal, everything else is going to come. That's no problem. We're going to, because actually grant writers can't take a percentage of what you get funded. It's unethical and it's actually against federal regulations a lot of times.
You can't
take a percentage of the grant. No.
Really?
Yeah. So we charge our upfront fee, right? Just for like the hours that it takes to write and apply and do the whole work. But so it's not like we're sitting here making, bank off of being grant writers. Right. It's like, hey, we actually can stand up and be like, that company's $1 million company because we got on their first grant. Oh yeah, she also now has 3 daycares because of the grant that we first got her. Oh yeah, they're a 6-figure company now because of the grant that we got them. Like, that's the big up right there. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's where we eat.
So for the people that's watching and listening, right, they hear this, they're like, yo, I'm about to start applying for the grants, but I want to work with Stormy. Mm-hmm. How can they get started on that process where they can work with you directly?
Absolutely. So if you ever DM me the word grants on social media, it'll give you a checklist of what you need to get started. It'll give you a link to all the services and learn more about it. My Instagram is @StormyBanks_.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to put all those links in the show description notes as well. But what are, as a woman in this business, right? What are some of the challenges you would say you faced and overcame to find this much success this soon? And because we know 4 years in business with this much success, that's rare. Mm-hmm. It ain't common. That's not easy. That's not an easy feat. So I want to salute you for that first and foremost.
Thank you.
But what would you say are the things that you overcame to get you to this position?
You know what I overcame? It had to be other people's doubt in me.
Really?
Yes. Like, oh my goodness. And it happens still to this day. Like who?
family and stuff?
No, my family is super cool. It's honestly the people that like I used to want to work with, or the people that I used to want to collab with, or the people that I used to want to do this. Like they used to be really pissing me off because I'm like, you don't know you're talking to a big dog. Like even when I wasn't really doing anything yet, I still was on that. Like, are you like, what are you doing? Who do you think you're talking to right now? Like that's really how I was, and that was probably the biggest thing that I had to constantly face. And still to this day, it's like you feel you got to prove yourself. And I'm not proving myself to nobody, right? I'm the buyer. Like I really stand on that. So I think that's honestly the biggest thing that I constantly am facing. And one thing that I do is I just keep focusing on, making sure that I get the results. Because the results is going to speak for themselves. The results is going to always bring the people to you. And people stop playing with you when you actually start showing like, oh, okay, wait a second. Like be so good that they can't ignore you type of thing. That's one of the biggest challenges. And I like that challenge because it keeps me real sharp.
Do you feel like, because I think some people from the outside, they'll see someone like you that's winning and killing it, and they may feel like, well, she may not face those challenges no more because she's at this level. Do you still face those challenges where you feel like people like, yo, they try me, they act like they don't know who I am?
Every day. I'd be like, oh, okay, bet. It give me a new aspiration. It really do.
I like this because like I know I talk to people all the time, right? And, people, they have aspirations to do amazing things in life, right? They'll meet somebody like yourself and they just assume like, nah, she lit. She ain't nobody trying her no more. People like, yo, that's the furthest thing from the truth. Like, it don't matter what level, there's always new people like testing you, trying. It don't matter how much success you find, it's always somebody that's gonna try to play you like you a nobody. So it's always something that you got to face and deal with. So it's interesting to see how people like overcome those things.
Yeah, because every level you go up, you're in a new room, a new environment where nobody knows you. So you got to constantly be just on point. And I think I became a super workaholic because of that. Like, and I still struggle with that real bad. Like a workaholic, like I'll be on the beach on my laptop. I'm the one in the club on my emails. Like I'm a crazy workaholic, and I had to go to therapy like a lot for that. Oh my goodness, it was really bad, like obsessively bad, and I'm still, I got my little, my moments where I get locked in, but I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing to be obsessed with what you love to do, but it does have to be some type of outlet to it that you got to focus on. And those when people play me, I get in those obsessive mode.
Oh, I know it.
I go crazy.
Yeah, do you look, with that being said, because I know me personally, sometimes I look for slights. I look to, this could be kind of sick for people that's watching this. Sometimes I'm looking for somebody to slight me a little bit so I could kind of like, I don't know, just looking for that edge, like, yo, what the? So is that something that you experience too?
Absolutely, because so one thing when my brother really started making money, he was like the first person in my family like hit 100K. Right. We was like, oh my God, he has 6 figures. Like we up, buy the family out the hood. So now when I look at like what he told me back then, he was like, how do you stay hungry when your plate is full? And I remember having that conversation with him, and I was just like, oh, I'm gonna still be hungry, whoop, whoop. But now that I'm in the position where I'm like, okay, I'm kind of good, like I'm kind of set, right? And it's like, how do I stay hungry? And so those little moments that be happening, they get me back hungry because I'm like, oh, so you ain't know I was who I was. Okay, cool. You're gonna have to stand on that too.
Yo, we just talked about this a couple episodes ago because, people are always talking about how to achieve success, the grind coming up, and that's inspiring to everybody. We love those conversations. But on the flip side, the conversation of, okay, you've achieved success now. You got some money. You living plush. How do you maintain that edge? Those conversations, you rarely hear those conversations because there's so many, people wouldn't believe how many people, like, because everybody got a different number for them. Mm-hmm. People wouldn't believe how many people hit that first million, that first 100K, and they just chilling.
Absolutely.
You ain't seen them working 8 months because they like, yo, I'm good. This is my number. But it's like, yo, you about to be on the downside, bro, because it don't stop. Bills don't stop. You got to keep going. So this conversation with maintaining that edge after you made it, yo, that's probably more important than, because
I'm telling you,
because staying lit is harder than getting on.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. You got to put that pressure on yourself. Like you got to stay working out. And the best way to do it is That's why I was telling you collaboration, because you get to see young people doing it, old people doing it, new ideas, old ideas, stuff that's working, and you constantly stay evolved. Like, for instance, somebody who taught me that is my mom. My mom is 57, and she works at a high school. And she's like, I work with the young kids because they keep me on the new lingo, on the new TikTok dance moves. She be knowing the stuff before I be knowing, right? And so I learned that from her, and I put that in my own business model. Like, I'm like, for me as a person, for me as a business, I want us to always collaborate with people that people would perceive as like, lesser than or don't have as much credibility, because they got the new ideas. Yes. They coming with the new smoke. They coming with the new things going on. I want to stay in tune with the people that's hungry.
No, facts. That's why me personally, I love like mentoring people that's like super young, 18, 19. Like when I go speak at high schools, I always mentor one of the people in the high school, because they always got these crazy ideas that I ain't like. I'm like, yo, I never thought of this. I didn't know this was a thing. So that's very, very true. And I wanna ask you this. Like, I only got a couple more things before we wrap up. If you had like three, I love asking people this. If you had three like key financial principles that you live by, what would they be?
3 key financial principles.
Yep. That you live like that like this you use as a compass for how you treat your money, manage your money, all those things.
Okay. So I would say 1 is stay debt free.
Damn.
I'm not a debt person. The more bills you have,
really?
The more bills you have, the less you can really pivot and maneuver with speed. And for me, I like to be able to move pretty swiftly when the time comes. And if you got financial obligations, you stuck. So stay debt free. I would say the next one for me is be economical. So I don't really buy a lot of like big flashy pieces.
Really?
Even if I have $1 million day, I'm not gonna go spend, $300,000 on a car and yada yada. Like, I still penny pinch every dime. I know exactly where my money is going. I'll be like, oh, you want Starbucks? How much is that coffee? I can get that coffee for $1.
Were you always like that, or did it take?
No. It took me losing 50,000. It took a lot. You know what I'm saying? It took me losing it to really appreciate the value of like, when I got it, let me see how I can make this sustainable, like for long-term growth. Because I still pay myself a $60,000 salary a year out of my company. People don't know that. Yeah, people don't know that.
Why is that?
Because that's all I need. I'm not gonna take extra from the company, because if I pay myself $100,000, I'm not really paying $100,000. I'm paying like $125 because I got to pay employee tax, all these other stuff. If I pay myself $60, I might be paying $75. So I'm saving the company money. Plus, I'm living off of what I actually need to live. I don't have a lot of overhead. I have my phone bill. I got my apartment. Some gas. About $5,000 a month. No biggie.
That's because when people make a lot of money, they don't think about that part. They don't think about like, keep it low for a while.
Keep it low.
And I had to take some L's before I really learned that myself. Take some big L's where I'm like, hold on. I need to pivot, do some things, because you can't live like, it's easy when you got money coming in, it's coming in fast. It's easy to believe you have more than what you actually have.
Absolutely.
It's very easy to be like, I'm super up.
Absolutely.
And as quick as you feel like you up, the quickest you could be take a couple L's, and then the L's be tragic.
I see it in real life. 40 days, 40 night fast. That's what it counts for. You know what I'm saying? If you want to be hungry, go broke. You gotta be able to manage your money, because it could get real spooky out here. Absolutely.
Because when you getting it, like you said, you got robbed. When you getting it, people don't realize, when people know that, everybody coming to you now, either for an idea, for investment opportunity. It's always something. And you like, this the homie. I rock with him, I trust him. All right, here you go. 50 racks, 100 racks, 200 racks. L, you like, and now your trust gone. But that teach you how to be economical, though.
Absolutely. You got to stay economical. And then I never, my third one would probably be, I never use the phrase, it's cool, I'm going to make it back. I hate when people say that to me. I hate when people say that to me.
Talk about that. Go in there.
They be like, oh, it's cool, I'm going to make it back. No, that money's gone. you no longer have access to that. That seed is wasted. You busted that seed open without even getting any fruit from it. So now you got to go conjure up a new seed, which takes new work, which takes new effort. And then you got to replant it, water it, wait on it, and then you can get your fruit back. But you didn't get that other seed back. That seed is gone. So I never say, oh, it's cool, I'm gonna make it back. I'd be like, no, I need to spend this money wisely where I got it.
You know, Stormy, you don't even understand how you just triggered me. I got like goosebumps, like, cause I didn't took L's before, and I remember somebody telling me that verbatim. Mm-hmm. It's cool, you'll make it back, and how that shit made my blood like boil. Hearing that, like, no, even when I make it back, I still this I could have had on top.
I could have been 100 up.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's never coming. Like, man, that just got. Hey, KG, know we talk all the time. Like, yo, when that money gone is you just got my blood boiling for real. Think I just got PTSD a little bit. Like, yo,
I got a therapist.
Maybe that's what I need to go see a therapist or something. That's very triggering. Like, that's like I think that's a big note that people could take from this episode is like, you have to be economical. Like, don't get ahead of yourself. Don't think you got more. You could get lit and start thinking you Jeff Bezos and shit. You're not Jeff Bezos. I'm going to tell you right now. Keep grinding, keep stacking, keep saving your money because it's definitely gonna pay off. That's heavy. You just sent me back for a second. I'm like, man, hearing you say that made me like, I lost my mind for a second. Like, what? Like, yeah, that's crazy. But before we wrap up though, I just want to say I love your story. I love everything you're doing. I want to salute you on your success for real.
Thank
like what you're doing, it not only is amazing and life changing for you, but you're helping so many other people get businesses, change their lives, get funding. You don't start because the number one thing with business, they go out of business because they don't got access to capital. They run out of capital. So this thing right here, this is really like a major like life-changing information for people to take heed. And I want to advise everybody that's watching us, listen, like if you got a business, you think about a business, and it's something that you're going into, instead of you trying to start by yourself where you may be getting 5-10% results, link up with Stormy, somebody like Stormy, where they could fasten that process and get you started on that journey quicker. Because if you could start off, as soon as you start this, get funding, you're going to skip so many headaches. You ain't got to figure it out on your own. It's already a blueprint out here. It's people that's already doing it. Just link up with the people that's already doing it. So I want to say I appreciate you definitely for doing this. This was a lot of game of value. But before you wrap up, I just wanted to get you for people that's listening, right? That's probably, like you said, where you was at when you lost that 50,000. You was like, you depressed, you traumatized. For the people that's listening and watching that may be in that position or in a similar position, what's some inspiration, some value, some information that you could give them to inspire them to know like it ain't over, you could keep going?
Yeah, thank you guys for listening in. I think to leave you with anything, I will honestly say, man, you got to get clear. You definitely can do it, right? And I know that sounds really cliche, but the moment you start actually believing in yourself, everything will change. And start saying some mantras every day. Start getting around some people that believe in you. Because if you lose it for yourself, at least you got people around you that still know that you that dog, you that big dog. So y'all start putting some mantras out there, start saying some positive things to you, get around some positive people, and I promise you, like, everything will really start working out differently in your favor.
Okay. And in wrapping up, for the people that want to follow you, keep in touch with you, become a client of yours, plug everything you got where people can find you, have access to you, all that good stuff.
Absolute. So I'm Stormy Banks. That's Stormy with an I, Banks _ across all platforms. And I'm the founder of Pink Print. So if you guys ever look up Pink Print Firm, you'll find us across all platforms. And I hope to work with you guys soon.
Definitely. And once again, I appreciate you again for coming on the show. This was very dope. I love this conversation. And wrapping up, you guys can find me on all platforms at the Millionaire Mindsets Podcast. That's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and you can find the podcast that's everywhere, Apple, Spotify, we everywhere. And this is all I got for y'all in this episode of the Millionaire Mindsets Podcast. See you guys next episode. Peace.